Oh, there's no place like home for holidays. 'Cause no matter how far away you have big history. Oh, there's no place like home. Shit, we're ready. All right, I can finally start. I know I am super late, and the camera's been rolling for I think like 8 minutes. That's my mistake. Sorry about that. But having a newborn has proven to be a considerable time sink. So Merry Christmas, everybody! I am super stoked to be a new dad and to have my kiddo experience his first Christmas. It's freaking awesome. He is painfully cute. And we've got other fantastic news. Of course, you guys all saw the ATF back down, they're the yellow-bellied cowards that they are, on their recent sort of decision / notice on a re-ruling on pistol braces. I'm glad to see that they are as chicken shit as ever. Good. Because that was absurd, arbitrary, and potentially disastrous to the Second Amendment. Because it was so open-ended. If you guys aren't familiar, they wanted to reclassify pistol braces as stocks and make any firearm equipped with those to be an SBR. But that's not even entirely accurate, because what they really want to do is stipulate random and not even really specify what they are, parameters or criteria rather, that would then make items into SBRs illegally, but you wouldn't know until you broke the law and they charged you. Because they said they had things as vague as weight, length of pull, caliber, and I believe whether or not optics were attached or if a drum was attached. Well, dude, I can put a drum mag on a Glock. Does that mean that Glock is an SBR? Because by no intelligent definition would anybody consider a Glock an SBR. Not even with a stock on it, that's still not an SBR. It's just an SBR in the eyes of the ATF, or the VATFE, or as it should be known as the dumpster fire, formerly known as the ATF. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. So I wanted to do something a little bit more wholesome this year, celebrate the fact that I have had a very good year in terms of, I guess, family success or whatnot. So not going to do it quite yet, but I've got one of these. This is a Man of War, and I have wanted one of these guys forever since the Legion. I couldn't quite get the super, super rare ones they make, but these things are like comically huge, and I've heard really good things about them from friends, as well as apparently Jeremy Boring of the Daily Show, or the Daily Show, the Daily Wire, really, really likes them. So I'm excited to try that here later on. And of course, I want to show off what my wife got me for Christmas. Would be a World War II Luftwaffe Parabellum 08, aka a Luger. A gun I have wanted for a very, very, very long time, and I could never find one for a price that I found to be acceptable. And I finally found one, and she gave me her blessings to pick it up. And I really hadn't bought myself anything all year. I mean, since becoming a father, the last thing I was thinking about is, what knickknacks and crap do I need to add to my collection? But this is on my bucket list of kind of, not really unicorn guns, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. So it's a 9mm Parabellum model. It's a 1936, an S42, so it's a Mauser, and it's mostly matching. The toggle, unfortunately, does not match the rest of the gun, but everything else is matching. And for those of you not in the know, it's hard to see, the little serial number on the bottom of the barrel has a little bit of a halo around it, which is a good sign because that means it's an original barrel. That's a good thing. It has not been refinished. So really like it. Not terribly accurate, overly complex, just freaking awesome though. I mean, the mechanism alone is so freaking cool. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know a great deal about Lugers because I don't tend to overly research guns that I don't have a realistic chance of buying. And for a very long time, this was among those, because for whatever reason in my area, you never find a PO8 for anything south of like $1,600, even if it's just like, a Russian bringback or a Russian capture, and it's beat up, and none of the parts match, and the barrel looks like a sewer gutter. They're like, yeah, that's about $14.99. And you're like, yeah, I don't know about that, Tex. But finally found this guy for right around $9.50. And considering that the conditions, it's okay. It's definitely a shooter grade Luger, but $9.50? Hell yeah, I would have bought 5 if they had them. Anyway, very happy with this gun. Nothing like posing with a Santa hat and the most obnoxious suit I've ever seen at a Luger to kick off the Yuletide tradition. So, I've got something special planned for this year's live stream, this Christmas one, I've got a P1 as well, my dude. I really like that gun. So I brought out some things here. I've got a couple of absolute classics we can get started on whenever. Got the Night Before Christmas, very, very cool, old school, love it. Got something that's a little more 60s, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and if we want to go full old school, which I might have to do right off the rip, this is a 1903 copy of Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales. And I have got a classic that deals with Christmas called The Fir Tree. It's also cripplingly depressing, just like every Hans Christian Andersen tale. So that's going to be a good one. So we'll have to figure out which one to start on first. But because I lost a bet, I have to start off with the singing number. So I'm going to do the song that I know best that has the least amount of lyrics to it so that I can't screw it up too terribly. Okay, let's try. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly face, for the holidays you can't beat home sweet home. I met a man who lives in Tennessee, and he was heading for Pennsylvania and some homemade pumpkin pie. From Pennsylvania, folks are heading down the Dixie sunny shore, from Atlantic to Pacific. Gee, the traffic is terrific. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, if you want to be happy in a million ways, for the holidays you can't beat home sweet home. You're welcome. All right, now that that's out of the way, we can go on to story time, because that's how freaking wholesome we are going today. When the world is completely degenerate, and I do something as wholesome as singing a song and reading Christian fairy tales, that's what I did there. It's considered to be an act of rebellion because the world's insane and upside down. So I want my son to see this one day and say, damn, my dad was straight edge, but not really because he's not a douche. Hopefully. All right. Oh no, YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I hope you guys got the entire singing portion without any choppiness. I am streaming from my garage, as I'm sure you can tell. And it's on wireless through a tunnel. So, we'll go with a simple one first, if I can find it. I just had it. The Night Before Christmas. And then we'll get to politics, because that's how I roll. All right. And I love how this is... this was my wife's when she was like 4 years old. And so it has some hilariously bad handwriting in the bottom that says, "Will you please return it to me?" And it is spelled T-I somehow. I don't know. Return, whatever. The Night Before Christmas. Oh, it's got some nice illustrations. Can I actually get that zoomed in? Let's say, nice. It's like they're really here. Spending a wonderful Christmas here where it's, I believe it's like 65 outside right now and torrentially raining. We actually have like a tornado warning. So if you hear a lot of sound all of a sudden, and you see me dive for cover, you'll know why. All right. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer, now Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wind hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. I should actually show you guys the illustrations in the meantime, huh? I suck at reading for kids. Sorry, kiddo. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. That's a meme-tastic image right there. I'm digging it. These pages are actually quite thick. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his finger aside on his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, and to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. Okay? But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." So, I've already read you a bedtime story, sang you a song, gave you politics, and I'm not even getting started yet because that's how I roll. I want to see how old this is. It looks like a 1980s copy. Let me see. I'm curious. A Random House picture back. Picture back. I like that. It's clever. Oh wow, 1975. That's pretty cool. My wife's not that old, but I think she got it from her father, who is quite old. So yeah, this is like super old. Unfortunately, it had to be taped at some point because it just completely disintegrated. They're actually, if you're interested, these things were made by Sears apparently, like back when Sears and Roebuck was like enormous. And you can get these for like $10. So if you ever want one, there you go. And a little bit of politics. So in addition to the most recent ruling, and I'm going to start this cigar off because, oh man, that is fantastic. I want to say there's hints of like vanilla, licorice, maybe a little bit of leather, and something like raisin, but not quite. Almost like coffee, sweet coffee. God. So I'm going to cut the back of it. I actually prefer, for the most part, to do a little dimple at the back. Do a dry draw real fast, pretending like I actually know what I'm doing. My good buddy Will is a much more prolific and experienced cigar connoisseur, and he's never had these before, but he will soon because it's in his Christmas gift that's coming to him here pretty soon. I'm sorry it's late, buddy. And if you are in contact with this gentleman, know that, yes, I did send the patches out with him, and they are signed. So you'll be getting a lot of goodies yourself, too. Each one is not numbered because I didn't think to do that until I was like 6 or 7 deep into signing them, so I just didn't do it. But they are super exclusive collector's items, each one worth 1,000 Bitcoins, guaranteed on some market that doesn't exist. But maybe one day, right? Anyway, so for those of you not in the know, you're actually supposed to toast the outside. This cigar is absurd, by the way. I don't think I've ever seen a cigar this large before that wasn't like part of like a movie gag. It smells amazing. Oh yeah. Very even burn. Good stuff. And for the sake of my wife not beating me, I'm going to move her book away. And probably the Grinch, because my kid loves that. But, little guy, if you ever find that book in the future and you go, man, why does this thing smell like a homeless man? You'd be like, my dad made it smell like a homeless man, and you're not wrong. Before I get started, what is everybody up to this year for Christmas? Anything fun? for me, I'm staying home because COVID. Also because 3 days ago, my mom informed me that she was coming down to visit to see her grandchild. And so my wife and I had to scramble to make the house presentable, as you know, as new parents, and especially with all the lockdown stuff. No one's been coming over. The place looks like a sty. Like the only thing that I had put away, 100% put away, were all my guns and ammo, because that, obviously with a young kid, he can't crawl yet, but just the same, it's not exactly like good optics to have easily accessible firearms and an infant. It's probably not a good combination. I didn't Google it, but I'm gonna suspect probably not the best. Not copacetic. I'm actually really excited for the first time ever to put the gifts out for the kiddo. He's not old enough to know what's going on, but funny enough, so my wife's family does this tradition where every Christmas Eve they open one gift. My parents never did that stuff, but they do that apparently every year, and so we let him open one gift at random, and he opened up like a Fisher-Price xylophone, and he was pretty interested in it, but we've taught my dog to unwrap presents like in years past, and so she sits there and just pulls off pieces of wrapping paper. She doesn't need them, but she just rips them off, and she's dogs tend to shake their prey or whatever. I guess like a death roll or something. She does that to it, and he thought it was the funniest thing he's ever seen. Like he was literally like belly laughing. He's only 7 months old. He was like belly laughing and rolling over and squealing. It was painfully cute. It was amazing. Hey, Fun with Guns, this is a fantastic cigar. I think you're going to like this one, Will. Oh, yeah. Also, super glad there's no smoke alarm in here. And super glad I don't care about this jacket because it's going to smell awful tomorrow. Anyway, so politics-wise, other than the ATF backing off on the braces thing, if I'm not mistaken, the other news. Oh yeah, I want to hear your guys' opinion on what's going to happen January 6th. Sorry. Do you think that Pence is going to demand that there be a new election, and he's going to decline and say that he believes there's voter fraud? I think it's going to be a big fat nothing burger, and Biden's basically going to walk on in. And further to that point, do you think the election was actually fraudulent or not? I'm not gonna tell you how I feel yet. I'm curious what everyone's opinion in here is. Oh, I don't care. Yeah, fun. It is a Luger. I already showed it off. Woo! Dropped it. But yeah, that's a PO8, a 1936 Mauser. My wife got it for me for Christmas. I mean, if YouTube gives me a strike on this video, I don't give a shit. Sorry. I mean, I like the money I make from YouTube. It's not much. Gosh, probably enough to get 700 rounds of 9mm at current prices a month, maybe. Plus, this isn't a real Luger. It's actually a rubber dummy gun that I am in real time deep faking noises over, because guns are bad and scary, YouTube, and I would never own a firearm because everyone knows that guns will randomly jump out of the woodwork and just shoot children. That's what happens. So I got this fake gun to remind me how bad guns are, because this was an epic evil Nazis gun, and I've seen those guys in Indiana Jones, and they're super evil. They burn books, and like they're always trying to kill Indiana Jones, and he's a good guy. I like Harrison Ford. Why are they trying to kill Harrison Ford? Nazis, jeez. And I'm sure there's other stuff they did that was bad too, like some kind of happy summer camp or something. But regardless, yeah, it's ridiculous. You're not supposed to have tobacco use in videos either now, I think, unless. I think you can show it if it's exclusively tobacco, or they'll demonetize that video. But literally every live stream I've ever done is instantly demonetized, even ones that had nothing to do with politics or guns. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it will be a nothing burger, which, unfortunately, I think that I think there's a lot of very sketchy stuff that went down with the election. I would love for, if they ever manage to actually figure out who did what and to what extent, that literally every single one of those people should, at the very least, go to prison for the rest of their lives, or a more cost-effective, more permanent solution, sentence to them, be that what it may. Well, I see one interesting theory I had seen, right, was that they made the Dominion voting systems intentionally too sensitive, so that anytime a vote went through, if it wasn't like immaculately filled out, then it would reject it and require manual review, and then the individuals who were doing the manual review were on the take, so to speak, and would just be like, oh, Biden. Because I forget which county it was, but they did a recount that had a really high rejection rate. Like it was like 30% as opposed to the normal, which is 0.8% or something like that. And upon further review, it showed that like 70% of the votes that were marked Biden that required like a manual review were done incorrectly, accidentally though, of course, right? I mean, Trump and Biden, like the names are identical basically. I mean, how could you mess something up like that so easily, right? So I had to round out my preparedness and sold a few extra guns and bought a used military Humvee. Did you really? That's badass. Did you get one off of, oh God, not Divids. What's the, there was like a defense or military auction thing that was going on for a while. They had a couple on there. They were like $8,000, but they were rough. I mean, they were something like, some of them had like 180,000 miles on them or something insane. And like most of them needed a new transmission at the very least and a full overhaul of the engine. And none of them were street legal as they came. You had to like do something other to them. Because I was really considering it just to be a super obnoxious. If I ever got like to 200,000 subs, I would totally get like a Humvee with a bright red wrap. You just like you put the burst view R on it like a complete jackass. That'd be fantastic. The frog with on camera and coincides with the spike in counts. Yeah, I've seen that hypo. For sure. Liberty was missing all the burst review gun reviews. Yeah, man, I'm sorry. If you want to see my reviews, I'm actually doing very active reviews right now on AmmoLand. I'm one of the editors over there. I'm a managing editor over at AmmoLand. And if you're wondering, that's where I've been because they're a full-time gig with benefits and insurance, and I need that stuff because new dad and everything else. And gosh, actually, so my wife gave birth to our son 7 months ago. The day she got back from maternity leave, and she was a government job, they laid her off because of COVID. And like, it is a miracle I got my job when I did. Because I got my job 3 months before he was born. So if that hadn't worked out, I don't know what the hell we'd be doing now. Because, I mean, God, unemployment certainly wouldn't be enough. I mean, hell, if you go through Cobra, if you guys aren't familiar with what Cobra is, it's a supplemental insurance plan where basically you get your previous coverage at like a super premium price. The cost to cover my family with like a mid-tier, not even like a super high-end tier insurance plan through Cobra was about $1,800 a month. Like, that's bonkers. I mean, and truth be told, I mean, it's great insurance if something catastrophic happens to you. But like, for a doctor's visit or to get a prescription, it's like, eh. Gov Plan. I mean, that's what I was thinking of. It sells those things. Home with Guns. It was a Venezuelan election. It kind of was. I got a cheap Ford Escape and had a stolen machine gun on it in Minecraft. Nice. I do. What is the? Oh God, it's the Honda something or other. I think it is. Or isn't it Isuzu a tracker? So, there's some damn car that keeps popping up in like every hot spot on the planet. Not a sponsor, but if they're interested, I'm all ears. But it's I forget what the hell it is, but like it just pops up all over the place. It's like the AK-47 of trucks, apparently. Also, I apologize to you guys for earlier for for there being a huge gap in the coverage at the beginning of this thing. I thought I was still on the wait to go live. And then at the last second, I was like, "Oh shit! I've been letting this thing run for like 8 minutes. Whoops!" So apologize for that. Hilux, that's it, Black Sweet. Hilux. Yeah, apparently those things run for like an eternity. I've heard of like some of them having like 300,000 miles on them on the same transmission. I don't know how that's even possible. But yeah, I'd love to get one of those. I had for a short time. My dad gave me his old 04 Ford Explorer. He was gonna just like basically just junk it because it was just like beat to hell, and oh my god, it leaked so bad. I don't mean like fuel or or oil or anything like that. Like nothing on the car was climatized. It had all because it had been like in New England for like a decade and basically left out in like the snow and everything else, and then it had been driven to like I think Nantucket or something like that, or Nantasket, I think it rather, in like on the South Shore. It was it was a seafaring community, so to speak. Not really anymore, but it was. And so super high humidity and like salt and corrosion. When it rained, that whole freaking car got wet. And one of the times I let a buddy borrow it on a hunting trip, and I said, "Man, make sure you park it in the garage." So he parks it under a tree. The same thing, right? Yeah. That car was like covered in mold. It was disgusting, and it smelled awful afterwards. So that thing was a no-go. It's actually, it used to be in this garage, but now it's not. Semper Invictus. What is your opinion on the U.S. government giving military equipment to insurgents and not selling it to civilians? I would say it's telling. It tells you exactly how much they trust us. Because it's ridiculous. I mean, I would even be willing to do like a compromise where like, fine, I don't think there should be any firearm registration whatsoever. However, if it meant getting machine guns, like let me register it like on a Form 1. If you want to bump up the tax stamp to $500, okay, whatever, I don't care. It's $500, who cares? It's a machine gun. Because realistically, if you give it like hell, even if you make it so it requires like like the same parameters as getting a concealed carry license, something like that, where you have to go through an actual background check or something like that, that would dissuade the overwhelming majority of anybody who would do anything nefarious with them. Even if the check didn't actually work, didn't matter. Proud of you, man. Glad you got a good gig. We'll continue to support and check out your ammo. And thanks, man. Hey, and there's still time to get in on the 5,000 rounds of 9mm giveaway they're doing over there. I think we're gonna announce a winner on January 1st. So swing in there, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the newsletter, everything else. They don't sell your information. They never will if you read the terms of service. But a lot of people thought, wait a minute, they're giving away this ammo. It's got to be a scam. Funny enough, they've given away a SIG MCX Virtus since I've been there, AKV 9mm, and then some other gun, and I'm drawing a blank right now. And every single time we give away a gun, like probably the first 2 people we contact and say, hey, you won, ignore the email or think it's a scam. So like if you sign up for it, like actually check your email. If you get a congratulations email, it's not spam, it's real. So God, I'd be kicking my ass if I missed a free 5,000 rounds of 9mm in this economy / market. You see the part in the stimulus bill they tried to pass around $80 million for new furniture? Yeah, I did. Okay, so I don't know if you guys listened to Ben Shapiro at all, and his argument was really bad. He was like, that's part of the omnibus package that's attached to it. So it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, yeah, it does matter because charity starts at home. If we're in such bad condition, like everybody says, right? If we have what is it, $900 billion, like that's enough to fix everybody's economic situation in the United States. I'm not saying we should, right? Because I don't really believe in communism / socialism, whatever. But from just a pure mathematical standpoint, right? Why do we give a shit what happens in Uganda, Ukraine, Israel? I don't care about any other country but America. Sorry, that makes me a dick. I don't care. Like, you know what? Tell you what, if I feel the need to support any of those countries, give me a means of donating to them voluntarily. In the meantime, take all that money that we paid you and either refund it via taxes, right? Like, how about, I'm sure you could give us $900 billion in tax cuts and do it to only people who make under $250,000 a year. That way, none of the corporations, none of the Jeff Bezoses, and don't consider corporations to be individuals, that's insane, and hook people up. I mean, shit, clearly you're blowing the money on stuff we don't need. right? I mean, we are still basically the biggest swinging dick in the locker room. I mean, China's coming up on us, but we still got, nuclear arsenal. What the hell is Uganda going to do if we don't give them money? Fall to ISIS? Oh, no, it's a stepping stone to California. Oh, no, it's absolutely not. It doesn't matter at all. Screw the sphere of influence. Take care of us first. Build a damn wall around the entire country. Let's see. What does it feel like to smoke a cigar? It's like riding an atom bomb into the middle of Hiroshima, which is to say, magnificent. Truth be told, if you've ever drank a Red Bull way too fast, it's kind of like that feeling right before you feel sick from so much caffeine, but you just kind of hang with it and you're just good. I would say it's tantamount to like drinking a strong cup of coffee and jumping into a freezing cold swimming pool or an ocean. Like once it hits you, you're like, but you're not just awake. You're awake and alert. Like I think a nicotine pill would be like an amazing combat stim, if not for the incredible amount of addictive qualities. I mean, I know that smoking's not good for me, right? I don't smoke often, but I don't smoke cigarettes. And there's a difference. You don't inhale cigars. So if you ever get a chance to smoke a cigar, get one from an actual cigar place, probably online. Don't get it from a pharmacy or like a grocery store, because they'll be sitting in these like crappy packages and dehydrating. Like if you can squeeze a cigar and it like crumbles, it's not good. It should have like bounce to it, right? Almost, I think someone said it should feel like medium well steak, where it's like it's got a little bit of give to it. Bought myself a motorcycle. It's a 2020 Husqvarna. I can't pronounce that second word. I'm not going to try to. 41 to 58 miles per gallon. That's amazing. Off-road capable, Mad Max style, zombie bug out, Red Dawn. Hell yeah, man. Dude, I used to do some seriously dangerous, stupid stuff as a kid on a dirt bike. It was a lot of fun. And it's a miracle I didn't die. And it also convinced me of wearing a helmet, because I was... One time I was trying to do a stupid trick over like a dirt mountain, and I hit it. My front tire hit just the right angle, and it threw me over the mountain, and I landed head first on a slab of concrete, and it cracked my helmet straight down the middle, and like it fell off me in two halves. And I was like, oh my God, I would be 100% dead if I didn't have that helmet. So yeah, do helmets look lame? Sure. But what's better than looking lame is being alive. So whatever. Merry Christmas. Congrats on surviving 2020. Thank you to you too, sir. How's A1 holding up? Still good. A buddy of mine bought one. I have three A1 uppers. I have like the 14.5, 16-inch, the 12 as well, and I think a 10.5. And a friend of mine with an SOT and a registered select fire lower bought the shortest one to run full auto. And I think he's had like 15, 20 malfunctions and like 4,000 rounds in full auto. So it does work well when it's maintained. I've heard some guys from the Taiwanese army that had like chimed in some videos saying that they had some issues with reliability. But assuming that military weapons in the Taiwanese either Navy, Marine, or whatever the hell are anything like the ones in the U.S. military, is they don't really follow the maintenance schedules with too much vigilance. Let's see. Trump. Best president I've seen last in 4 years of Trump. President was better than 8 years of Bush and 8 years of Obama, Biden combined. Okay. If your life isn't in danger, then you're not having any fun. Big facts. So I told everybody. Someone's like, aren't you afraid you're going to get cancer smoking? And I was like, bro, life isn't a race to see who can live the longest. I mean, if I eat cardboard every day and rice cakes and drink water and I live to be 130, did I actually live? That said, don't smoke 6 packs of cigarettes a day, because that's just ridiculous. There's always a risk-reward balance. You gotta look for the ROI. Gotta be careful when I'm on. I skip out of protection, but never the helmet. Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, given road rash, if you're on the road going very quick, like in a road bike, could be. I've seen some pictures, man. But like, losing your mental capacity and or becoming paralyzed, That's a lot worse than having like a gnarly scar. Plus, chicks dig scars. Scientific proven fact. Yes, Dark Reno, that is a absurdly thick, fat cigar. It's a Man of War Legion. I think it was about $15 a pop. About a 5-pack. I'm giving a couple to my good friend Will. Not going to list his last name here. I'm not going to dox my buddy. But if you're on the Discord ever, he's on there a lot. Woo! There's zero ventilation here. Woo! Let's see. Hi, guys. Hi, Jim. Hi, guys. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas. I'll have to post some pictures because my wife bought me a premium Santa Claus outfit I'm wearing tomorrow morning for my kid's first Christmas. And I got some pictures with him for our Christmas cards, which were like painfully cute. I like how he immediately knows it's me. He can only see like this much of my face. It's got like a stomach thing you pack in there and everything. And he's like, that's Dad. He's already like clapping his hands and squealing. He's like, that's Dad. I know that. That's got to be Dad. Let's see. Freaking Donkey Dong. That's awesome. Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. I was gonna like cut the back off properly. I prefer to do like a cigar punch. I didn't have one on hand, so I used to use a pen knife. But yeah, it's freaking massive. I'm gonna be over the moon with the amount of nicotine in this thing. But I figured this way I can live stream with you guys for as long as possible. The kiddo is currently asleep. My wife is asleep next to him. So thankfully, in my detached office out here, I have a full bathroom. So I'm going to have to scrub the hell out of my beard and my hair. Otherwise, I'm going to reek. And when I get into the bed, it's going to go, oh my God, you smell like shit. Which would be right. Because no matter how good the cigar is, cigar smoke on someone smells brutal. Fun fact, if you have a wooden house, and this is a garage, so I don't care, but my buddy Will and I, when we smoked out in my quote-unquote Florida room attached to my house, which is all like it's cypress, that wood just soaked up the smoke and oil. Dude, that room smelled like an old man for like a month. So don't do that. How about the $600? It's a slap in the face when compared to the billions going to corporations. 100% agree. Funny enough, I heard Shapiro go on the most recent episode on his YouTube channel talking about like, well, if Democrats support it, it's bad. And I was like, not necessarily. Don't get me wrong. The majority of the stuff the Democratic Party now supports is abhorrent and against the Constitution, God, ethics, pretty much everything. But not everything that they want is necessarily bad. I'm sure they have something that's good, like probably like, I don't know, slightly wider handicap parking spots, something. I don't know. But in this instance, I would rather burn the money than give it to another country. Like legit. Like what are we doing with our lives? I've had friends who are like they're well-to-do, their families are well-to-do, and they've got like one or two misers in the family that do that same thing where like they're like more than happy to give money to charity, especially to like something that will stroke their ego and act as a monetary virtue signal. But if a loved one asks them for like $100 for something, they're like, "What do you need that for?" You're like, "You just gave like $10,000 to like a local church. You don't have $100." It's not even about like the money, right? It's the fact that someone's first reaction could be, "What do you need it for?" Right? And the worst thing is people who give money with strings attached. It's a personal pet peeve and something that if I ever give somebody money, I don't expect to get that money back. If I give somebody a loan, I'm like, it's gone. If they pay me back, hooray. If they don't, whatever. Because if you get invested emotionally in giving somebody money and expecting that money back, you're just going to get hurt, 100%. Because there are a lot of people out there that are virtuous and they won't take the money, so to speak, and run. But it has been my experience that the majority of individuals out there don't pay loans back. Anyone who needs a loan bad enough to ask a friend for money generally doesn't pay it back. Let's see. Oh, wow. I missed a couple of comments. Scroll up. Wear a proper helmet and good riding suit, and don't go 100 miles an hour on the country road like me. Yeah, good call. Trump was right to blow up the trash bill. More of the swamp things that went home today. Yeah, 100%. Hello from Oregon. Hello. Try not to get killed in a peaceful protest. A fiery, but mostly peaceful protest. Coat hanger in 308 equals fun. Absolutely. That way you can keep your 308 in your coat hanger closet, and it's always ready next to your coat, right? That's what you meant. India's new 517 type gun, I'm assuming. Haven't seen it before. What's in the cup tonight? Unfortunately, what's in the cup tonight is ash. Because this is my garage floor, and my wife will beat me if I just drop crap in there. Both of the vaccines have aborted fetus tissue in them. Confirmed for takes your soul away. See, the one that scares me, have you seen the Bell's palsy that some of the people who took the vaccine get? No, don't get me. I'm not like an anti-vaxxer who thinks that vaccines are just a backdoor for government mind control or something, right? But I will say that rushing out something that could have, especially because they're devastating side effects. It's not necessarily if the cure isn't necessarily worth the payment, so to speak. I mean, I forget who I was listening to. It was a pathogenic science. I forget what the word is, like a virologist or whatever. And he was saying that historically, coronavirus style vaccines tend to carry with them very serious health risks that often don't outweigh the benefits. I have a newborn child, and so even though they're saying, oh, kids, not really susceptible to it, sure, but they also don't know what happens to children that have this long term, and for the same reason that I wash my hands with lead removal soap every time I handle firearms or shoot firearms before I touch the kid or his food or anything he's going to interact with, I'm not taking any risks. So for me, I wear a mask. I go, I limit my exposure when I go shopping to 20 minutes with a mask on, as much as I hate to wear the stupid mask, and I get my stuff done. Plus, even in South Carolina, they'll throw you out of a lot of stores if you're not wearing a mask, which is nuts. Dark Reno says that 80% coronavirus patients had a vitamin D deficiency. I would believe it. I'm fairly certain that my buddy Will, my wife, and I all got coronavirus in January of last year, or I guess of this year, technically, at SHOT Show, because we were there during Chinese New Year. My wife is part Chinese, and we went to a bunch of the festivities because no one really knew what coronavirus was. And immediately following SHOT Show, we all got super ill, like some kind of flu-like symptoms, headaches, body aches, the works. And I've had friends since then that have come down with coronavirus. They've been in contact with me. They didn't know they had coronavirus, right? They were in contact with me and my wife, and then they recovered after they were diagnosed with coronavirus, and then my wife and I never got sick. Now, does that mean that I'm actually 100% immune to it? No. I mean, I very well may have just gotten lucky over and over again and actually just got a bad cold before. But, I mean, it kind of points to the fact that I probably already had it. And I think a lot of the gun industry guys probably already have it. Because if you've ever been to SHOT Show, everybody gets sick. One of the things I do there, preventative measure-wise, my wife did the same thing, is we take probably 1,000% or 800% vitamin C every day just to be safe. Because I've gotten the flu before at SHOT Show, and it is straight cancer. It sucks. If you live in a place like me, you may or may not be allowed to continue work or board a plane unless you have a vaccine. So that's another issue. Yeah, and I got to figure that out because I've got a Sig Sauer event I'm going to in May. So I got to figure out if it's a prerequisite to fly, and if it is, I'm gonna totally get mutant superpowers or Bell's palsy. If I had to pick, mutant superpowers sound pretty sweet. What I really want. I want the Flash's ability. Can you imagine what my splits would be if I could move as fast as the Flash? That'd be sick. Through the plate rack in 0.1 second? Hell yeah. With guns. Ooh, you all got the Rona at SHOT. We very well might have. I don't know. It was a good shot show too. Went to a decent amount of parties. It was serendipity that I ran into the guys at Ammo Land and got my job. I stayed for the 6-hour event for the cocktail hour afterwards. I never stay for the cocktail hours at SHOT Show. And I'm sure you guys noticed when I'm at SHOT, I'm churning out videos left and right. And the way that I can accomplish that is by not partying at all. Like when I'm at SHOT Show, I'm usually off the shot room floor by 1 or 2 o'clock, already cutting videos. And we were doing like 7 videos a day. There's no time for me to go and get blasted. Now that said, last day of shot, I usually get pretty just drunk off my butt because screw it. At that point, everything's done, and I'll leave a few videos to kind of trickle out in the days following shot just to keep my SEO in good standing, so to speak. Good luck taking the vaccine from a drug company that fast-tracked the research, testing, and production, and you can't be held liable for any ill effects. Pass, hard pass. Yeah, I feel the same way, lol. Thoughts on 308 AKs? Are they viable or even desirable short shit-hit-the-fan rifles? I mean, they can be. I think I shot a Zastava M77 once in 308. I think that's the Zastava is the 308 AK. I've shot a friend's old Saiga in 308, and that was a unconverted one with like the short mag. I shot one in 30-06 too. That was kind of weird. They weren't terribly accurate, but I mean they were a good deer rifle for sure. I'm a little partial to the 308 Galil if I'm gonna get something like that, especially because a Galil pistol in 308, although ballistically not terribly effective compared to like a full-length barrel on a 308, it's still a handy package. Problem is, with today's ammo prices, it's just nuts to practice with. Did I hear about the new 5.7 Kel-Tec? That thing looks like a laser pistol. It looks ridiculous. It looks like something out of like Perfect Dark. Like one of the, I don't remember what the hell, Skellar? I forget what the aliens are called in the N64 Perfect Dark game. You'll forgive me, I was, 15 when that game? No, 14 or 15 when that game came out? Maybe 16? It was a long time ago. Can that table saw cut through metal pipes that are not shotguns? That's just that's a wood blade right there. I think it would just absolutely just destroy itself on anything other than probably like a Chinese steel barrel is probably soft enough, but aside from that, no, it would just definitely destroy itself. Although I did use it to cut the stock down slightly on a Mini 14 crappy polymer stock. It was a Hogue stock. I took like 1.5 inches of the LOP off of it because it was just way too much. Speaking of which, I've got a Benelli M4 now that I recently picked up, and I've been trying to find the law enforcement collapsible stock for it, having no luck. And the damn things are like $600. And I'm looking at the fixed stock, and I'm gonna definitely need to have my gunsmith actually take like 2.5 inches off of it. It is the length of pull in that thing is appropriate. If I was like 6'5" and I only shot bladed to my target, it's ridiculous. I mean, heaven forbid I have like plates on or something. Yeah, Hypno. I think that Kel-Tec does use P90 mags. I think he uses upside down P90 mags, which is interesting. But if it works, I mean, Kel-Tec has got a lot of like wacky ideas. I keep telling, I'm like, Ruger, you guys need to buy Kel-Tec and have that be like the Ruger Skunk Works division, and then produce like, refine the designs, make them 100% viable, and then just churn the suckers out for cheap money. Because I mean, the lean manufacturing that Ruger has, especially in their North Carolina facility, dude, they could I think it's Moyoke, they could churn the hell out. I mean, they could make the PMR 30 or whatever, and they can easily make like $1,000 a month for like nothing. They could probably get like the MSRP down to like $700, and the street price like $5. It'd be sick. Cigar is a Man of War. It is Dominican. I believe the wrap is Dominican, and the filler is a blend of Nicaraguan and Dominican. That's nice, very smooth. It's definitely one of those you smoke it all day kind of cigars. If I tried to hit this thing like I was angry at it, I would be like spinning. I'd have to film the rest of this video laying on the floor. Speaking of Ruger, they are planning on shipping the new Marlins in the second half of 2021. That's awesome. I didn't know that yet. That's very cool. I'm excited to see what they do with those guns. I'm hoping they kind of do away with all of the polymer components that the Freedom Group installed in their cost-cutting measures. I was really hoping that I had heard allegedly that PSA made a bid on the Remington ammo brand, the Remington metallic cartridge, right? And oh man, can you imagine if PSA bought an ammo factory? Oh my God, we the days of $4.99 boxes of 9mm could have been upon us again. I think they would be an enormous market disruptor. Who knows? Thinking about that 5.7 Caltech pistol because what kind of market is it made for? Who is looking to buy a handgun that cannot be easily holstered, concealed, etc.? Certainly not for any police or military contracts or any plausible civilian market. It seems like Caltech's MO is to make stuff and have people buy it just because. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, I'm okay with that. I like that there's companies out there that are just going to make stuff that they think is cool. That's awesome. Because, I mean, that's how, well, to an extent, that's how a lot of the really cool designs that would come out, like in the 60s and whatever, and even the 30s and 40s and stuff came out. I mean, sure, they were designed to capture military contracts, but they were also like so oddball and so like weird that it's something that we probably will never see again in our lifetime, which is unfortunate. Unless, of course, at-home 3D printing comes down in price to the extent that your average Joe can just be like, well, I can print revision number 6.3 whatever for my Glock. Like Glock would ever cut anybody a deal. I agree. PSA ammo would definitely compete with the likes of Wolf and Tula. And assuming it's not extremely downloaded and unreliable and steel cased, it would just dominate them. Although I'll say this, Wolf 45 is awesome for use with a suppressor. It's just downloaded enough that out of like a Osprey 45, for example, out of a Glock 21, it is like dummy quiet. If you add a little bit of ablative to the actual suppressor, like the foam or whatever, it sounds like a wet towel slapping something. It's it's so cool. I want to ask you guys, how is the audio quality? I'm using a Blue Yeti microphone on top of I think it's a 20mm rocket steel container ammo box, which itself is sitting on top of an old discarded wooden Mosin 7.62 54R crate. So I wanted to get it close to the height of the camera, but not actually in the frame. Yeah, before, I mean, this is a fairly large room. I think it's about 700 square feet, and I'm very close to the wall, obviously. And so there's a decent amount of echo right now. And I was hoping that I turned down the gain pretty far on that mic because I didn't want you guys to hear the reverb on it too much. It's a bit fuzzy. Good to know. Imagine all the furious boomer FUDs after we can 3D print Lugers. Dude, so I'm looking at the way the Luger operates. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this or not, but let me take a closer look. So the Luger, clear. So the way the Luger actually works, and I'll be honest, I didn't really know much about the design. I always assumed that the toggle operates, it just operates, right? That is the entire recoil mechanism. Not the case. So clear. Okay, so I'm going to press on the barrel because you have to. So right there, you see the top of the slide, if you will, slide assembly, actually goes back slightly, right? And when it does, these ears, right, actually break the toggle slightly. And as soon as that joint is broken, that allows the recoil, to push back the action and chamber the next round and eject the last one. What's really fascinating, and I didn't realize this until I was playing with it more, is that the sear, right? I'll clear it another time. Okay. So the sear, pushing this disassembly lever, and I haven't done this for a while, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm not mistaken. Take some pressure off of it, pull it free. The side plate, which is easy to lose. The assembly lever, and you can barely see it, but right here is a sear bar, and there's a little leaf spring back here. And when I pull the trigger, if there's pressure on it, it actually pushes outward against this thing. So technically, it has an exposed sear, but not really, because put this back. Ooh, if I can get it in there. That's what she said. I always want to put it in backwards for some reason. I don't know why. There's a little lip here that goes inside here, and that covers those components. And there's a little like lever in there that connects to the trigger. So the trigger pulls down, pulls on this little lever, then applies pressure against this connector, which is then spring loaded from the little leaf spring in the back. This goes in, pressure off, and then actually I think I have to rotate it into place, and safety on first. Clear, nothing, geschafft, safe, works. The trigger in these things, if you've never shot one, is it's nothing to write home about. It's not great, but it's so cool. Like the design. Anyway, what I was going to get at is that because the only components on here, I didn't realize when I got the gun that the ears were actually a functional mechanical portion of a Luger, right? I thought they were literally like an ergonomic thing, like you needed it to basically cock the weapon, but they serve double duty. And that's why this little ramp here on the frame is the way that it is. These actually, when the ears hit it, it unlocks it. And I'm sort of thinking, steel reinforcement there. The ears can still be steel and reinforced. There's almost no reason why you couldn't make the frame of this polymer, and it would kind of ruin the ergonomics of it. Double stack. Just saying, 15-round Luger. Hell yeah. The question is, where do I mount my RMR, right? That'd be cool, though. Christmas Luger. Indeed, Christmas Luger. Got to shoot a P08 and a P38. Amazing guns. Yeah, they are really cool. The Luger, you can definitely tell the Luger was designed when the current military thinking or current shooting thinking was to fire with one hand. Yes, you can comfortably shoot it with two hands easily, but I mean, it's designed. I don't know if you guys can see it or not from on frame. It's designed to actually, it points super well with one hand. And the front sight's nice and pronounced, but the rear sight is like, you guys probably can't even see it. It's that small little notch, that's portion of the toggle, is super, super small. But if you look at the original 1911 A1s, or 19A1s, 1911 pistols, similarly very, very small sights. Lugers are for craft beer drinking hipsters who think the CZ75s are too mainstream. Yeah. Hey, there's definitely a correlation between soy boys and CZ75s. I don't know what it is. Something about them. Same kind of guys who like have always wanted to own like a Z3 BMW. Are the same kind of guys that are like CZ75. I want the shadow in orange. I don't know what it is. Something there. Something about it. I purchased, for some reason in all caps, I purchased two Savage Mark II 22 LR for less than $100. Any thoughts on them? I've never shot one, but I'm sure they're cool. Let's see. I mean, Savage, a lot of people don't like the Accu trigger. I think the Savage Accu trigger is fine. I've made shots with a 100? Is that the 100 TS, ST, Tactical, whatever the hell it's called? Whatever. In 6.5 Creedmoor and 308, like out to 800 yards on like human-sized targets. That's accurate enough for me. Lugers are for German patriots. If it's Merkel's Germany, I weep for any Germans that actually like love their country. CZ's a hipster gun. Luger is for people who aren't poor. CZ owner says Borek are either hipsters, weebs, or both. Luckily or unluckily, I'm only in the weeb category. Is there a different term, Hornet, for someone who's a weeb for Korean stuff? Because I think that's you. I know about your K-pop fetish, you weirdo. But I'll admit, Girls' Generation is painfully catchy. Also, how the hell are women that thin ever? These girls have got to be like 75 pounds sopping wet. I like how we've had 1,000 playbacks according to the analytics here. And but I don't think there's ever been more than like 20 people in here at any time. People hop in, they're like, what's this jackass? I don't see anything fun in the background. Should have put more lights in the background. These are our outdoor lights. Unfortunately, this year we didn't have a chance to put the lights out with the kiddo. He's like, my son just got his first tooth, or like he's getting his first tooth in, so he's not sleeping terribly well right now. He's bitey though. My God, you wouldn't think a 7-month-old child could bite like that hard. Oh my God, that kid is gonna take my finger off. He'll sit there. He'll be like gnawing on one of his teething rings or whatever, and he'll grab my hand, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. I'm like, ah, Jesus. I actually felt really bad the other day. He bit me on the knee. I wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone responding to some work email, and he just goes, argh, bites me, and I was like, ah, Jesus! And I scared him, and he looks at me, he just goes, and I'm like, oh, buddy, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I think right now they're just called Korea Boos. Nice. Do you ever miss Arms List? I like my buddy, kind of a jackass, Rob. Rob Radis is the guy that did a lot of their videos, the redhead guy. He's a cool dude. And he's like a hardcore badass door kicker, and you'd never ever imagine it. Like everyone that meets him thinks he's just some like, hey guys, I was on the internet, I like guns, so I'll make videos about it. But like the reality is, that dude has been in like multiple combat tours, like special forces and stuff. Like I think he was attached to a special forces unit, and he trains. He goes and does like military contract work in like really dangerous parts of the country. I don't want to like dox him or whatever and tell people what he does, but he's a badass dude. Make no mistake. I saw your videos on Arms List where you were talking of the Og and the ginger giant was advocating the divorce. So in that Og video, in the very first part where I'm like saving the damsel in distress, that's my wife. The funny thing is, when I was in that scene when I was carrying her, I almost dropped her like twice because she was wearing, I forget what the material of that dress is, but it's something like it's like multiple layers of fabric, and it's like as slippery as ice. And when I shifted her weight back to shoot more accurately, she about went off my shoulder into the concrete. And does she scream and go, oh no? No, she starts laughing. And so she's shaking, and it's even harder to hold on to it. I'm like, oh shit. I lucked out. I'm a lucky man. She's a hell of a woman. Because I'll be honest, I don't treat women with kid gloves. I'm not like a jerk. Like I'm not like, hey, lady, get out of my way. You know what I mean? Something stupid like that. But I talk to my wife the same way I would talk to like a best friend. And I mean, she is my best friend. That sounds cliche and kind of lame, but like it's funny is when we're filming at like events, we both cuss at each other like crazy, like sailors. And people think like, oh my God, are you guys having problems in your marriage? And we're both like, huh? What? No, it's loud and I can't hear her, and I'm frustrated because I've been doing this for 6 hours. So if she has the camera in the wrong position, I'll be like, hey, move the fucking camera. It's not like, I'm not saying, hey, I hate you, you did something stupid, you're dumb. It's more like, hey, I'm tired, you're tired, get it done. And, we finish the day, go back, have a drink, and other adult stuff together. And, whatever. It is what it is. It's a rare thing. She's definitely one of a kind, especially with the fact that she's happier if I get her a complete like ratchet set than if I got her like jewelry or chocolates or flowers. In fact, the first time I ever bought her roses when we were dating, back in high school, she goes, what am I going to do with these things? They'll be dead in a week. And I was like dumbfounded. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Right? Like, I don't know how to respond to that. I mean, hell, everything I've ever been told or read is like, you got to get them, X, Y, and Z on, X, Y, and Z occasions. And no, she's the kind of chick that if you got her snow tires, would be like, hell yeah, now I can drive in the snow. I think you were the first guy to refer to yourself as a manlet. Hey man, I'm a towering 5'9", take that back. I'm gonna kick you in the shin. Funny enough, you wouldn't guess it. My dad is like 6'6". Unfortunately, my mom is like 4'9". So it could be worse. I could be Danny DeVito. So on my wife's side, thankfully, her Sicilian side, her dad's very tall too. Her cousins, her uncle is tall as well, and her grandfather is really tall, and so is her grandmother. So I'm hoping, those genetics kind of trump mine for the kiddo, and he ends up being pretty tall. But I will say this: he looks a lot like his old man. He is like alabaster white. That kid's gonna get a sunburn in the moonlight. I'm glad you found someone you fit with. Good for you, man. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. You still have the AUG? I don't. So funny enough, I had the AUG for like 4 years, and I wasn't trying to steal it. Like the guy that I was working with at Steyr, he got a new email address. I stopped working for Arms List. So he didn't have my contact information anymore, and I'd see him at SHOT, and I'm like, hey man, do you want that AUG back? And he'd be like, yeah man, shoot me an email, and I would, and he'd forget to respond to it. And then like 4 years later, he's like, hey, you don't have that AUG still, do you? And I was like, oh man, I'm sorry, I sold that thing. And he was like, you serious? And I was like, no, dude, I would never sell a review gun. Like, come on. Micro Apache. Hey, what's up, Apache? My favorite angry German guy. Fun with guns. Got my girlfriend a Carhartt and snow tires for Christmas. Hell yeah, brother. May your son be 6'9". Hell yeah, dude. I've heard porcelain about alabaster. Yeah, I forget where I got that from. I've heard white as cotton. That's pretty funny too. But yeah, he's never gonna get racially profiled and pulled over. That's for damn sure. So funny enough, his cousin, who is like ethnically basically identical. Like I think his mom is mostly Polish. I think, but his dad is the same as my wife, basically half Chinese. He looks like 100% Chinese, and so like, my wife was like, "What if he looks Chinese?" I'm like, "Well, I don't care. He's my son. I don't give a shit, right? He's still my son." And he comes out, and I actually delivered my son. My wife's crazy, and so we did an at-home birth with a midwife, and I caught my son. I cut his umbilical cord, and it was overwhelming, man. I'm not gonna pretend like I was like, "Oh, cool, a boy, whatever." Like, no, I was crying my eyes out. And my wife was crying. I'm crying. The kid's crying, of course. And the midwives, there were 3 midwives there, and they were all just in tears. Everyone was so happy. Oh my God, it's probably the single most emotionally overwhelming moment of my entire life. Like, it was like nothing I've ever experienced. And I didn't understand the whole parenthood thing. And everybody says this, I know, but until I held him, the enormity and the gravity of the situation. Previously it was kind of academic. Like, I knew this is an important moment. This is my son being born. This is huge. And I could appreciate that on like an academic level, on like a logical level, right? And then the second I held him, man, I lost it. I was like, oh, he's so beautiful. Like, I was a mess. Like, full on ugly cry. Like just they couldn't keep it in. I don't care, man. It was awesome. Anybody who says that when they saw their child the first time, they weren't like, emotional about it, is either a liar or like a sociopath. Who's going to be racially profiled as racist and privileged because of the white and Asian? Maybe, but maybe you might tan like his mom. His mom can tan. Like, oh my God, like she looks. You wouldn't think she's anything but like maybe part Latino because she's fairly fair skinned. But she goes out in the sun, she gets like this really, really dark complexion, and she looks gorgeous. Whereas if I go out in the sun, I get cancer. So I've definitely gotten sun poisoning. Fun fact: when I was in college, we wrote our team name across our chest in zinc, right? For a football game, for homecoming game, and the rest of my suntan lotion just wasn't enough, right? And so I was like covered in blisters except for a giant white ass T in the center of my chest. I looked pretty obnoxious. I had to go like to the girls like 2 or 3 doors down, And I was like, I can't reach all of my back. Can you put this stuff on my back for me? I'm dying. So I know they're laughing at me behind my back. I don't care. Shoot, man, I was a younger brother. My older brother, we obviously, older brothers always pick on you and everything else. I had when I was really young, I had like crooked teeth, buck teeth, a bowl cut, and I was a ginger. Dude, I got eaten alive. Like, oh my God, I was like the butt of every joke. I also had a huge head. My brother used to say I didn't have a 4 head, I had a 5 head. My best friend's dad delivered him and his 8 brothers and sisters. That's wild. That's cool as hell. She had decided to do the at-home birth before the whole Rona stuff, and it was just serendipity that when all of the stuff came out, that ended up being a much safer alternative to being in a hospital. I mean, he hasn't had any vaccines yet, and it's not because I'm against vaccines. We're just delaying until things kind of die down because the majority of people who catch really bad infectious diseases right now are folks that are going to hospitals. Because, I mean, you don't go to a hospital if you're feeling good. You go to a hospital when you're sick. So there's germs everywhere. And he's an infant. Anything he can touch, he then puts in his mouth. So, you know what I mean? Plus, for the most part, my wife and I basically live like hermits right now. I think we go out like once a month to resupply on stuff that we can't order on Amazon. And even that, we've got like groceries coming in every other week. Misfit box. The organic stuff and the fruit and vegetables are kind of ugly, but they're otherwise fine. That's really good though. It's not terribly cheap, but it's good stuff. And then as far as water goes, I mean, I'm on well water, which is why I have an enormous generator out back. So if that tornado does hit, we can keep streaming. Technically, I think I have like a month worth of propane in my tank. It's enormous. It's like a 700-gallon tank. It's buried obviously because it's like the size of a bus. But awesome. Ridiculously expensive, by the way, to get like a full house Generac setup. Very, very expensive, but worth it because we had a few years ago, a Hurricane Florence come through here, and we lost power for either 9 or 10 days. And because we're on well water, I had no water for 9 or 10 days, which means you can't flush the toilet for 9 or 10 days. I wasn't like okay with that, so I went and got a painter's bucket and filled up water from our pool and put the pool water to the back of the tank to flush the toilets because I'm not gonna drop a deuce and let it sit for like a week. That would have been ugh. Apache, I am smoking a Man of War Legion like limited edition special batch. I'm sending one to Ching, so he's gonna like that. With or without bathwater, though, we did. She started out in the bathtub, and then she was like, "Nah, I think I want to be on the bed for this." So my wife's a complete badass. So she did the entire birth without any epidural, no painkillers, no pain meds, nothing. The whole thing natural, and she didn't complain once. She didn't cry once. She smiled through the entire labor. I mean, even the nurses were like, "Holy shit, this woman's a freaking monster." And, all 110 pounds of her, or maybe she's probably actually a little heavier now because the baby, whatever. She's still beautiful. I don't care. Lol pop. I'm a fan of waiting for the vaccine until the kids get ready for school. Yeah, I agree with that. Ever smoke Olivia? I like the nubs. I've never tried it. I'll have to try one. What's the setup for an at-home birth? So they have a bunch of they look like puppy training pads, like little pee pads. It's like the material inside of a diaper is absorbent, right? They're sterilized. They put them on the bed, and basically she sits on those pads while we fetch her water, keep a cool cloth on her head, basically, and you just wait, and when the contractions get to a certain distance in terms of time, a certain amount of time apart, that's when you know it's coming soon. And they tell you that they're supposed to check to see how dilated their uterus is, but reality is doing so can actually cause a premature, not premature, but can kind of like kick things off premature a little bit. Not like days, but like hours early. And the barring the baby coming out, like breech or whatever, or for that matter, any kind of health complications, you don't want to take like it's percussive. I forget what it's called, but it's a medication that actually triggers the birth to occur more or less, or contractions, whatever. And apparently, if your wife they usually give women those in hospitals because a hospital is a business. They're trying to get you in and out as quickly as possible. With a midwife, she's there for the next 48 to 72 hours. So it doesn't matter if you give birth now or in a couple hours or whatever. So they let nature kind of take its course. And as a result, it's apparently, although I can't speak obviously from experience, it's apparently a lot less painful than one that's been induced, right? Which, by the way, my brother, his wife is in the hospital right now and she's being induced. And so my son's going to have a cousin that's exactly 7 months and 2 days younger than him, which is cool. A little boy as well. And they haven't told anybody the name yet, which is interesting. Tintin asks, well, first he states, pardon me, hi everyone, Merry Christmas, opinion on the LaRue handguards. If they're part of like the ones that mount directly to the upper receiver, I'm a huge fan. They're very solid, and they're very easy to install, and they're very difficult to screw up, which I like, because I'm a guy who reads the manual after I screw up, not before like you're supposed to. And as a result, I tend to mess things up quite a bit. I like them a lot. If you're looking for like a piston gun right now, though, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think it's on either Euro Optic or Optics Planet. They've got 5.16 SIG uppers, right? And I think they're 14.5-inch barreled ones. So if you want to put it on a rifle, you've got to pin and weld a 1.5-inch long muzzle device, like a flashlight or whatever, or a compensator. Excuse me. But they're like $560 right now, and I'm actually gonna sell one of my Sentry AKs to kind of afford that. If I hadn't just gotten that Luger for my wife, I'd just go out and buy it, but I don't want to sleep on the couch indefinitely. And I say that, but realistically, if I bought it, and I told her it's a hell of a deal, and they're probably not gonna be that cheap again. That's one of the things I love about my wife is she's very rational. She'll never just bite your head off over nothing. And if she's in a bad mood and does that, it's one thing so I'm gonna some unsolicited marriage advice. Never go to bed angry. Never go to bed angry. Always solve your problems beforehand. That stuff will snowball. The little things that you didn't think bothered you, when there's 100 little things and you kept it to yourself, that stuff will eat you alive, and it'll cause you to lash out and say some stuff you don't mean. And I would like to say I'm a bigger person than that. I'm a better person than that. But reality is, when you care about somebody enough to marry them, you'll love them to death, right? And they hurt you, and even if they don't mean to hurt you, you're going to take it the wrong way. And unless you're like the most pious individual of all time, and you have the patience of a saint, realistically, it's going to piss you off, and you're going to say something stupid. You're going to say something that's hurtful and not necessarily even true, because the way the human mind works, unfortunately, when you're mad, there's a famous quote. I think it's by some king, I believe, European king, who said, "Hot tempers," and I'm paraphrasing. Hot tempers give dull men sharp tongues, but it also keeps them poor. And it's 100% true. You will be quick-witted and mean-spirited to no end if someone pisses you off, right? But you're going to say something you're going to regret. What kind of Luger? It is a Mauser, an S42. I put an M16A1, bastardized M16A1, says Lil Pop. Regret using a heavy barrel. Any recommendations in replacement? I'm looking for 1-8 twist. I think BCM on occasion sells their government profiles / pencil barrel setups. Those are awesome. If you can luck upon an actual M16A1 or a Colt SPO1 barrel, do that. My buddy's got an SPO1. You guys have seen it in some videos where it's full auto because it has a registered lightning link in it. That thing is so handy. It's amazing. It's probably like the easiest to carry AR I've ever felt. Sell me your Sentry AK. I think it is. It's either a RAS 47 or a C93. But the market being what it is right now, I'm like 100% transparent. If someone tries to buy one of my Sentry guns that I've bought from Sentry, I'm up front. I'm like, some of these guns have issues. Mine have not had issues yet, right? And they're low round count. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have issues in the future. But I'm also I'm realistic. The average guy that's going to buy a cigar. The average guy that's going to buy an AK is never going to put 1,000 rounds through it. So in that window, within that purview, there's no way that the average Joe Blow or the average hillbilly who bought one for in case of the shit it's the fan kind of thing is ever going to put enough rounds through it to ever see any of the downsides of the kind of shoddy construction or any of the issues with like the bolt deforming. Because even if the thing is getting itself slightly out of headspace, it's not going to be bad enough that the gun's going to become unsafe for several thousand rounds. And if it does, assuming we're not in an end of the world scenario, Sentry will take care of you. Patrick asks if Lugers are expensive in the USA because they're cheaper helix. Yeah, they're pretty pricey. I mean, it's gotten worse recently, and inflation is compounding that issue. Because I know in like 05, 06, I was looking at shooter grade Lugers that were priced around $600, and now you can't find a shooter grade Luger for like under $1,500. Okay, that's not fair. You have to look to find one for under that price. Your best bet is like a state sales. Or if you know a local gun shop that's small that buys stuff on occasion, that's where I got mine. Is a buddy of mine. He works at a gun shop, and they got 2 Lugers in for about that price. One in 30 Luger, one in 9 mil. And the 30 cal one, I think it was a Weimar Republic one. So it was actually like it was a pre-war Luger, and it had a much nicer finish. But I have no desire to like get into reloading 30 Luger, and especially given the ammo pandemic right now, or shortage or whatever, I wasn't going to get into a new caliber. I've got 9mm for days. Well, I say that. I'm probably sitting on 2,500 rounds. It's nothing. That's compared to like back when I was shooting every single day, when I could afford to go shooting every day. I think the most I've ever had on hand is like 8,200 rounds. Some weird number I remember. Because I bought it at a garage sale. Some guy had a bunch of the old Remington yellow, green box ammo. It was all faded. It was like from the 70s. And he only wanted like $3 a box for it. So I was like, how much you got? And he was like, I don't know, a couple thousand rounds. Like, take it. He's like, you want a bulk discount? I'll let you give it. Either way, I don't care. Wow, Walther P38s are more expensive there. That's crazy. They're definitely cheaper here. You can get you can get a P1 for very little money. I've got one. I think I traded a TP9 and like $150 for one. That was a pretty solid deal. 1,000 euros. Dude, why does European money look like Monopoly money? Come on, it's got to be green. It's got to be. I had a Vepr 47, says Lil Pop, put 3,000 rounds through it in 2 years. Ammo was 21 cents a round. Yeah, I remember the good old days. I remember when 7.6225 Tokarev, whatever the hell ammo, was like dirt cheap. I think it was like, it might have been packed in the same quantity as 74 ammo, where it was like 2160, I think, like 2,160 rounds for like $100. It was just so cheap. I bought like 5,000 rounds of Tokarev ammo for my, I had a Polish toke, I still have it. I have a Romanian toke now too, and a Chinese toke. And I just like, I don't think I've gone through half of the ammo. And I bought it like in 08. I mean, I only have 2 mags for it. And 7 rounds at a time, it takes a long time to blow through 5,000 rounds of ammo. Heroes may look fake, but to be honest, all paper money is kindling. 100% agreed. Fiat currency is a joke. I love BCM. Screw BCM. They treated me like trash because their barrels are overgassed. I can see that. I think I've got 2 or 3 BCM uppers. I should know. It's bad. And the 20-inch is perfectly gassed. And the 16-inch is a little overgassed. I know when ran suppressed, it'll like if you don't have a gas buster charging handle on it, it's murderous. I forget what gun I was running in a video. I might have been a suppressed FAL. Dude, that thing gives you carbon bukkake every single shot. Even when you adjust the gas system, it's something about the way. And it might just be the rail dust cover I have on it. something about that. There's enough gaps in the dust cover that the carbon and the hot carbon gas just comes flying back at you so freaking like aggressively. You have a Lowell says he has a basic Spikes LEO 16-inch with well over 5,000 rounds through it. Very cool. 6-ish years old. Yeah, that's nice. I bet you're a lot more proficient with that than the guy that dropped, $3,500 on like the most Gucci AR possible, and then ran through one course, 500 rounds, and was like, "Well, I'm proficient now." You have a Steyr M95, an 8x56 millimeter rimmed, and can't find ammo for it. Only have a couple boxes of 39 Wehrmacht Mark 1s. Yeah, that's a pretty oddball caliber. I mean, it's not super. You can't buy it in stores for the most part in the U.S. You can order it online, but I have no idea what it's like to order ammunition online in Europe. Yeah, I know where you're from, Apache. I'm trying to think. Brussels, I think maybe. I've never shot one before, Apache. See, it kicks like a mule. I hope that's not a typo. I like the way you said that. Kicks like a mule do. I like it. Never change, brother. I'm letting this guy kind of go out. A tasty wrapper. Whew, my hands stink. Tintin says, what are the couple of vids you're working on right now? So Miles from TFB brought over a YPG stock, a Kurdish stock for an AK that he's producing now stateside. Oh, he's partially producing stateside. I think. No, I lied. It's all stateside now. That was pretty neat. The one I got was a prototype. It's not like production ready, but the stocks are coming out soon. And also a mag carrier he brought me back from Kabul, which is really cool. In fact, I'll go grab it. Boom. This is. I mean, I didn't buckle it up front. I guess I can do that real quick. Probably look like a stuffed sausage with this Christmas outfit on. Which, by the way, not ashamed to admit, bought this jacket last year. Oh, yeah, my arm to the wrong hole. That would do it. I'm like, this feels weird. Yeah, it would feel weird to put your arm to the wrong hole. Yeah. Let's see. There we go. Hey, there we go. Still on? Still on. Good stuff. There we go. And it's got all those decorative studs on it. He was insisted that I say that it's not made of camel leather. Apparently, it's actually made of like real leather out of cow. And dude, that's the look. Look at that. My stream is delayed by a few seconds, so I can't even see how I look in the thing. And there's no mirror over there. But dude, this is how you operate on Christmas. I'm telling you. Oh no, I think I'm out. By the way, butane lighter. That is the way to light a cigar. Don't use matches or like a regular lighter. Blech. Look like Santa's Secret Service. Look like Santa's freaking Blackwater escort. I've been trolling Miles on TFB since he started. I don't know why, but I love giving him a hard time. He's actually a good dude, right? I don't agree with him on a lot of politics and some of his views in terms of. I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to put this. socio-religious issues I don't agree with. He's a good guy though. And because I'm not an asshole, I can agree to disagree with him. You know, the way that politics used to be before they became like life and death. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you support Trump? I bet you want to put what's it called, like concentration camps on the border and throw all the Mexicans in there and gas them, you evil Nazi, you. I was like, oh no, I'm fiscally conservative. That means I hate another group of human beings. Plus, everyone knows that Trump loves Mexicans because he took a picture of himself eating a taco salad on Air Force One. Checkmate. What do you think Santa is going to stuff your stockings with tomorrow? I don't know. I opened up one of the things earlier today, and I haven't had a chance to try it yet. It's the this year's version of the Whistle Pig Boss Hog. That's a 100% rye whiskey. They do these like 100 bottles or 200 bottles a year of their Boss Hog stuff. It's so freaking good. It's 17-year aged, and I'm really excited to try it out. But I obviously wasn't going to drink right before I handled a firearm on a live stream. It's pretty poor optics. Well, good night there, Jack. There are a lot of people like him in the Special Forces community. I know several who are weirdly liberal. It's hard to wrap my head around. I think the ones that I don't appreciate their view on, let's put it that way, that are like, they're like, it was okay for me to have these kind of guns, but not for civilians. I was like, yes, there are some real crack shots in the military. There's also a lot of pogs that can't shoot for shit, right? Just like, like back in the day, people would argue, like, only police need to have guns like that. Police are experts. Bro, I have never been outshot by a cop. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there's some absolutely phenomenal shooters in some police department, but I have never met one. Like I said, I'm sure they do exist because, I mean, by the laws of probability, they must. There are unironically a lot of special ops people who think exactly that. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think it has to do with the way they were kind of trained and the mentality. It's like, you're the best of the best of the best, sir, you know? Tinson says, wife got me a gun cabinet. Just be tired of tripping on ARs. Save it for our toddler. Yeah, man, I hear that. I've got 3 gun safes filled to the brim right now. And I was like, it's funny when companies are like, hey, you want a free AR? And I'm like, yes, but no. Trump will touch oven every Mexican he's with. That's a fate worse than death. Dude, given his diet of like diet soda and McDonald's or whatever, oh my God, I bet those things could peel the walls. Maybe that's the reason why he's got a gold toilet, is because it's the only inert metal that won't corrode due to that vicious gas. We need an emotional support M60. Agreed. Maybe there are libs in special forces because they feel bad for the tribes they decimate. Maybe. It's not uncommon. It's almost like an Apocalypse Now kind of thing, you know? I mean, not quite exactly, but you know where I'm coming from. That is a good cigar. It's a very good cigar. I'll hold on to your guns for you. Oh, thanks, Funds with Guns. Appreciate it, brother. If gun companies knew anything about you, they'd offer to send you booze and hentai. Hentai, not so much. I prefer my girls to be 3D. Booze. What kind of booze? I bet Trump gets charged. I hope not. I think it's one of the many death bells ringing for the Republic, unfortunately, if he does. Because unfortunately, I don't think that Trump's going to quote unquote cross the Rubicon. I don't think he will. And I don't necessarily think it would even be good for the country, but it's kind of like choosing between AIDS or cancer. Either way, it's a bad situation. Speaking of trolling, one year I begged Arms List during the video series for a cardboard cutout of Rob. They did a response video for me saying, after a very awkward conversation, we decided no. Hey, man. I'll check I might have a high enough resolution image of Rob. You can get one made. You want a body pillow? Pitocin. Thank you, Fox. I love how we have a tornado warning, and I can distinctly hear gunshots right now and fireworks. That's South Carolina for you. They're like, nature? I ain't scared of nature. I'll shoot nature in the face. Look at the election of 1824. It's almost exactly like our election. Andrew Jackson came back in 1828 and became one of the most influential politicians ever. Maybe. I think, guys, it is time not to end the stream. Oh, no. Oh, goodness, no. You're not off the hook yet. Let's read an awkward Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale from 1903. I think it's originated from like 1600s. The Fir Tree. It's the only story I can think of offhand that actually is tangentially related to Christmas. So I'm going to get a sip of water first. I wish I had some bourbon with me or some whiskey. Hell, at this point, I'd probably take Kool-Aid and Everclear, but I don't. And again, bad optics. Out in the forest stood a pretty little fir tree. It had a good place. It could have sunlight, and the air there was in plenty, and all around grew many larger comrades, pines as well as firs. But the little fir tree was in such a hurry to grow. It did not care for the warm sun and the fresh air. It took no notice of the peasant children who went around talking together when they had come out to look for strawberries and raspberries. Often they came with whole potful, or had strung berries on a straw. Then they would sit down by the little fir tree and say, "How pretty and small that one is," and the tree did not like to hear that at all. Next year it had grown a great joint, and the following year it was longer still, for in fir trees one can always tell by the number of joints they have how many years they have been growing. "Oh, if I were only as great a tree as the others," sighed the little fir tree. "Then I would spread my branches far around and look out from my crown into the wide world. The birds would then build nests in my burrows, and when the wind blew, I could nod just as grandly as the others yonder." It took no pleasure in the sunshine, in the birds, and in the red clouds that went sailing over in morning and evening. When it was winter, the snow lay down all around it, white and sparkling, and a hare would often come jumping around, and spring right over the little fir tree. Oh, this made it so very angry. But 2 winters went by, and when the third came, the little tree had grown so tall that the hare was obliged to run around it. "Oh, to grow, and become old. That's the only fine thing in this world," thought the tree. In the autumn, woodcutters always came and felled a few of the largest trees, and that happened every year. And the little fir tree, that was now quite well grown, shuddered with fear, for the great stately trees fell to the ground with a crash, and their branches were cut off, so that the trees looked quite naked, long, and slender. They could hardly be recognized. But when they were laid upon wagons and horses dragged them away off to the wood, he would think, where are they going? What destiny awaited them? And in the spring, when the swallows and the stork came, the tree asked them, "Do you know where they were taken? Did you not meet them?" The swallows knew nothing about it, but the stork looked thoughtful, nodded its head, and replied, "Yes, I think so. I met many new ships when I flew out of Egypt. On the ships were stately masts. I fancied that these were those trees. They smelt like fir. I can assure you they were stately, very stately. Oh, that I were big enough to go over the sea. What kind of thing is this sea, and how does it look?" "It would take too long to explain all that," replied the stork, and he went away. "Rejoice in thy growth," said the sunbeams. "Rejoice in the fresh growth and in the young life that is within thee." And the wind kissed the tree, and the dew wept tears upon it, but the fir tree did not understand that. When the Christmas time approached, quite young trees were felled, sometimes trees which were neither so old nor so large as the fir tree, that never rested, but always wanted to go away. These young trees, which were just the most beautiful, kept all their branches. They were put upon wagons, and horses dragged them away out of the wood. Thanks, Mandatory Carey. This is 100%, what's it called, family friendly, so if you want your kids to chime in and be indoctrinated, go ahead. "Where are they all going?" asked the fir tree. "They are not greater than I. Indeed, one of them was much smaller. Why do they keep all their branches? Whither are they taken?" Which is where are they taken, in case you didn't gather. We know that, chirped the sparrows. "Yonder in the town we looked in at the windows. We know where they are. Oh, they are dressed up in the finest pomp and splendor that can be imagined. We have looked into the windows and have perceived that they are planted in the middle of the warm room and adorned with the most beautiful things, gilt apples, honey cakes, playthings, and many hundreds of candles." "And then?" asked the fir tree, and trembled through all of its branches. "And then? What happens then?" "Why, we have not seen anything more, but it was incomparable." "Perhaps I may be destined to tread this glorious path one day," cried the fir tree rejoicingly. "That even That is even better than traveling across the sea. How painfully I long for it. If it were only Christmas now. Now I am great and grown up, like the rest, who were laid away last year. Oh, if only I were on a carriage. If I were only in the warm room among the pomp and the splendor. And then, yes, then something better will even come. Something far more charming. Or else, why would they adorn me so? It must be something truly splendid, something greater still to come. But what? Oh, I'm suffering. I'm longing. I don't know myself. What is this matter with me? Rejoice in us, said the air and sunshine. Rejoice in the fresh youth here in the woodland. But the fir tree did not rejoice, not at all. But it grew and it grew still. Winter and summer it stood there, green, dark, and green. The people who saw it said, that is truly a handsome tree. And at Christmas time it was felled before any one of the others. The axe cut deep into its marrow, and the tree fell to the ground with a sigh. It felt a pain, a sensation of faintness, and could not think at all of happiness. For it was sad at parting from its home. From the place where it had grown up, it knew that it should never again see the dear old companions it had had. The little birds, the flowers all around, perhaps not even the stork. The parting was not at all agreeable. The tree only came to itself when it was unloaded in a yard with other trees and heard a man say thus, this one is famous. We only want this one. Now 2 servants came in gray liveries and carried the fir tree into a large, beautiful saloon. All around the walls hung pictures, and by the great stove stood large Chinese vases with lions on the covers. There were rocking chairs, silken sofas, great tables covered with picture books, and toys worth 100 times of hundreds of dollars. At least the children said so. And the fir tree was put into a great tub filled with sand, but no one could see that it was a tub, for it hung around with green cloth and stood on a large table and a many-colored carpet. Oh, how the tree trembled! What was to happen now, it thought. The servants, the young ladies, also decked it out. On one branch they hung little nests, cut out of colored paper. Every net was filled with sweetmeats. Golden apples and walnuts hung down as if they grew there, and more than 100 little candles, red, white, and blue, were fastened to the different burrows. Dolls that looked exactly like real people, the tree had never seen such before, swung among the foliage, and high on the summit of the tree was fixed a truly splendid tinsel star. It was truly splendid. Truly, it was particularly splendid. This evening, said all, this evening it will shine. Oh, thought the tree, that it were evening already. Oh, that the lights may soon light up. What will happen then? I wonder if trees will come out of the forest to look at me. Will the sparrows fly against the panes? Shall I grow fast here and stand adorned in summer and in winter both? Yes, it knew all about it, but it had a regular bark ache from the mere longing, and the bark ache is just as bad for a tree as a headache is for a person. At last the candles were lit. What a brilliance! What splendor! The tree trembled so in all of its branches, this book is like truly ancient, I apologize, that one of the candles set fire to a green twig, and it was truly painful. Heaven preserve us, cried the young ladies, and they hastily put out the fire. Now the tree might not even tremble. Oh, that was terrible. It was so afraid of losing any of its ornaments, and it was so bewildered with all the brilliance. And now the folding doors were thrown open, and a number of children rushed in as they would have overturned the whole tree. The older people followed more deliberately. The little ones stood there quite silent, but only for a minute. Then they shouted till the room rang. They danced gleefully around the tree, and one present after another was plucked from around it. What are they all about, thought the tree. What's going to be done? And the candles burned down to the twigs, and as they burned down, they were extinguished. And then the children received permission to plunder the tree. Oh, they rushed upon it, so that every branch cracked again. If it had not been fastened to the top, and by the golden star to the ceiling, it would have certainly fallen down. The children danced about it with their pretty toys. No one looked at the tree except the old nursemaid, who came up and peeked among the branches, but only to see if a fig or an apple had not yet been taken. A story, shouted the children, and they drew a little fat man towards the tree, and he sat down just beneath it. For then we shall be in the green wood, said he, and the tree may have the advantage of listening to my tale, but I can only tell you one. Will you hear the story of Ivy Aved, or of Humpty Dumpty, who fell downstairs and was still raised up to honor and marry the princess? Ivy Aved, cried many. Humpty Dumpty, cried a few. And there was quite a great amount of crying and shouting. Only the fir tree was quite silent and thought, shall I not be in it? Shall I have nothing to do with it? But it had been in the evening's amusement and had done that what was required of it. I'm going to take a second and get a sip of water and respond to comments. It's an interesting story. I've actually never heard of it. I don't even know the story of Aved Aved, which is Avede-Ivede, I believe. I may be butchering it. Maybe it's Avede Avede, I don't know. Make some torpedo juice. Scroll up. Mandatory Carrie says, long time no see. I thought FYT YouTube stealth unsubbed me. It happens. Absolutely happens. I'm glad you're still around, dude. The Republican Democratic Party was basically dissolved and the Democratic Party took its place. Unfortunately, you're right, Jester. Ever do anything with Mr. Guns and Gear? He and I were planning on doing something back when he only had about like 30,000 subs. And I was at guns.com, and it never actually panned out. Mostly my fault. Drinking whiskey and ginger ale, delicious. P.S. Vault 13 is the only real vault. True. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Scrolling down. Wow, there's a lot of comments. Bro, you should get on Dive. I'm not familiar with it. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Fun with Guns. I can see Jim in his Santa Claus outfit with his shoulder holster reading this to his kid. Dude, he loves when I read to him or sing to him. And as a result, I have done a ton of singing this year. A lot more than usual. Although my wife can attest that I ruin a lot of songs on the radio. If I hear something I really like, I want to sing along. I don't care. I'm no soprano, nor am I a tenor, but I still have fun. There's definitely like a haze of cigar smoke in this room. That's crazy. All right. And the fat man told about Humpty Dumpty, who fell downstairs and yet was raised to honor and married the princess. And the children clapped their hands merrily and cried, tell another, for they wanted to hear about Aved Aved. But they only got the story of Humpty Dumpty. The fir tree stood quite still and thoughtful. Never had the birds in the wood told such a story as that. Humpty Dumpty fell downstairs and yet came to honor and married the princess. Yes, so it happens in the world, thought the fir tree, and believed it must be true, because that was such a nice man that told it. Well, who can know? Perhaps I shall fall downstairs one day too and marry a princess. And it looked forward with pleasure to being adorned again. The next evening with candles, toys, gold, and fruit. Tomorrow I shall not tremble, it thought. I will rejoice in all of my splendor. Tomorrow I shall hear the story of Humpty Dumpty again, and perhaps that of Aved Aved. And the tree stood all night, quiet and thoughtful. In the morning the servants and the chambermaid came in. Now my splendor will begin afresh, thought the tree. But they dragged it out of the room and upstairs to the garret, and here they put it in a dark corner where no daylight shone. What's the meaning of this, thought the tree? What am I to do here? What am I to do to get to know here? And he leaned against the wall and thought, and he had time enough, for days and nights went by, and nobody came up. And when at length someone came, it was only to put some great boxes in the corner. Now the tree stood quite hidden away, and one would think it was quite forgotten. Now it's winter outside, thought the tree. The earth is hard and covered with snow, and people cannot plant me. Therefore, I suppose I am to be sheltered here until spring comes. How considerate that is! How good people are! If it were only not so dark in here. We're almost done. 3 pages. And so terribly solitary. Not even a little hare. It was pretty out there in the wood when the snow lay thick and the hare swung past. Yes, even when it jumped over him, although I did not like that at the time. It is terribly lonely up here. Peep, peep, said a little mouse and crept forward, and then came another one. They smelt at the fir tree and slipped among its branches. It's horribly cold, said the 2 mice, or else it would be comfortable up here. Don't you think so, old fir tree? I'm not so old at all, said the tree. There are many, many much older than I. Where do you come from, asked the mice, and what do you do now? They were dreadfully inquisitive. Tell us about the most beautiful spot on earth. Have you been there? Have you been to the storeroom, where cheeses lie on shelves and hams hang from the ceiling, where one dances on tallow candles and goes in thin and comes out fat? I don't know that, replied the tree, but I know the wood, where the sun shines, where the birds sing. And then it told them all about its youth, and the little mice had never heard anything of the kind, and so they listened quietly and said, "What a number of things you have seen! How happy you must have been!" "I?" said the fir tree, and it thought about what it had been told. "Yes, those really were some quite happy times." But then it told of the Christmas Eve, when it had been hung with sweetmeats and candles. "Oh," said the little mice, "how happy you must have been, you old fir tree, you." "I am not old at all," replied the tree again. "I only came out of the wood this winter. I'm in my very best years." "What splendid stories you tell," said the little mice. And the next night they came with 4 other little mice to hear what the tree had to relate. And the more it said, the more clearly did it remember everything, and thought, "Those were quite merry times. But they may come again. Humpty Dumpty fell downstairs, and yet he married a princess. Perhaps I may marry a princess too." And then the fir tree thought of the pretty little birch tree that grew out of the forest, for the fir tree that birch was a real princess. "Who's Humpty Dumpty?" asked the little mice. And then the fir tree told the whole story of Humpty Dumpty. It could remember every single word, and the little mice were ready to leap to the very top of the tree with pleasure. The next night, a great many more mice came, and on Sunday, 2 rats even appeared. But they thought the story was not pretty, and the little mice were sorry for that, for now they did also not like it so much as before. "Do you know only one story?" asked the rats. "Only that one," replied the tree. "I heard that on the happiest evening of my life. I did not think how happy I was." "Well, that's an exceedingly poor story. Don't you know about bacon and tallow candles and a storeroom story?" "No," said the tree. "Then we'd rather not hear you," said the rats, and they went back to their own people. The little mice at last stayed away also, and then the tree sighed and said, "It was very nice when they came around and sat beside me, the merry little mice, and listened to me as I spoke. Now that's past too, but I shall remember to be pleased when they come back out." "But when did that happen?" "Why, it was one morning that people came and rummaged in the garret. The boxes were put away, and the tree brought out. They certainly threw it rather roughly on the floor, but a servant dragged it away at once to the stairs where the daylight shone. Ah, now life is beginning again," thought the tree. It felt the fresh air and the first sunbeams, and now it was out in the courtyard. Everything passed so quickly that the tree quite forgot to look at itself. There was so much to look at all around. The courtyard was close to the garden, and here everything was blooming. The roses hung fresh and fragrant all over the paling, and the linden trees were in blossom, and the swallows cried, "Quiri vidivit, my husband's come." But it was not the fir tree that they meant. "Now I shall live," said the tree, rejoicingly, and spread its branches far out. But alas, they were all withered and yellow, and it lay in the corner among the nettles and weeds. The tinsel star was still upon it, and shone in the bright sunshine. In the courtyard, a couple of merry children were playing, who had once danced around the tree at Christmas time, and they rejoiced over it. One of the youngest ran up and tore off its golden star. "Look what is sticking to the ugly old fir tree," said the child, and he trod upon the branches till they cracked again under his boots. And the tree looked at all the blooming flowers and the splendor of the garden, and then looked at itself and wished it had remained in the dark corner of the garret. And it thought of its fresh youth in the wood, and the merry Christmas Eve, and the little mice which had listened so pleasantly to the story of Humpty Dumpty. "Past, past," said the poor tree. "Had I but rejoiced when I could have done so. Past, past." And the servant came and chopped the tree into little pieces. A whole bundle lay there. It blazed brightly under the great brewing copper, and it sighed deeply, and each sigh was a little shot. And the children who were at play there ran up and seated themselves by the fire, looked into it and cried, "Puff, puff!" But at each explosion there was a deep sigh, and the tree thought of the summer day in the woods, or of the winter night there, and when the stars beamed it, and thought of Christmas Eve and of Humpty Dumpty, the only story it had ever heard or knew of how to tell, and then the tree was burned. The boys played in the garden, and the youngest had on his breast a golden star which the tree had worn on its happiest evening. Now that was past, and the tree's life was past, and the story is past too. Past, past. And that is the way of all stories. So, that is your super depressing Hans Christian Andersen story of the night. You're welcome. And yes, I just read you guys 11 pages of a 1903 storybook, because that's how I roll. Oh, goodness. Kid is going to be super based. Thank you, fun. You make a budget gas chamber. Oh, wow. That was a spicy comment. Well, I am about completely out of gas from reading that. You can hear my voice is starting to go. But I want to tell you guys, I appreciate you guys sticking around. I know I'm not making a great deal of content any longer, but I really do appreciate you guys your continued support, looking at the videos, watching the live streams, participating in the live streams, everything else. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic Christmas, and you stay safe. Don't die via the coof, whether it's real or not. And I love you all as dear friends. And I hope you guys have a fantastic new year, and this next year is even more bountiful and fortunate and wonderful to you than the last. So, with that, I bid you all farewell and adieu, and I say Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Farewell, guys. I will see you all next year.